MIDI Sends inside a Cubase allow you to do some pretty funky stuff when you want to do any composing. So here I want to show you a little trick just by using one MIDI Send to control 4 patches and utilizing the chords in Cubase, the chord pads, to actually just do some magical stuff. So here we have an instance of Contact loaded up. On this instance of Contact, I've loaded in 4 patches from Cinematic Strings 2. So we've got the basses, cellos, violas, and violins. There's nothing special about the routing. These are just literally loaded straight in. Each one has its own MIDI channel. So the basses are on channel 1, cellos are on MIDI channel 2, violas 3, and violins on MIDI channel 4. Now, if I were just to play anything, what would happen is only one of those patches would be triggered because this instance is only set to MIDI channel 1. Which is obvious that's going to happen, right? What I want to do is actually create a MIDI track. So I'm going to right click here, go to add track and create a MIDI track. And we're going to call this strings control chord. Now the first thing I want to do is actually unhook this from our instance of Contact here. So it's not connected to anything. I'm going to set the MIDI to any. Not really important, but you must unhook it. And then go to, in the left here at the bottom, MIDI Sends. Now what MIDI Sends allow us to do is when we play a note on the keyboard, what it will do is it will send that note anywhere we tell it to go in Cubase or to any particular MIDI channel. So if I activate these, you'll notice that there are 4 MIDI Sends which are not connected, all on MIDI channel 1. Now if I was to connect these up to our strings instance here, and just pressed one note, you'd see that it's controlling that one patch because they're all set to MIDI channel 1. Now if I set this one to MIDI channel 2, so it's on the cellos, this one on 3, so it's on the violas, and this one on 4, so it's on the violins, and then go to play something, you'll notice that it's that was a bit dodgy. You'll notice it's actually controlling all the patches, which is what we want. Now chords in Cubase, the chord pads, are really handy. And what I would suggest doing before using them, when you're about to use this technique, is once you've found some chords you like and you've loaded them into your chord pad, just go to the E button here to show the player setup and make sure your overlaps are set to legato because this will save you any headaches when actually doing this and playing. Now, with the chord pads open, if I now play one of the keys that triggers a chord change, so C1, magic happens. So what's happening is each one of these MIDI sends has been sent to an individual patch. And then when we play a chord through our MIDI channel, it's splitting those 4 notes up of the chord and assigning them to these patches, which is then controlling these here. So it's really cool because we can now start composing stuff really quickly using those 4 patches. And it saves us manually trying to draw in those chords and split them across 4 different instruments. So it's a really quick way to do things. So if I was to start recording now, this would literally just be chords. But before we do that, I want to do the same for the brass here, which we've got loaded up. I'm going to set this up as well. So brass, control chord. And again, we're going to make sure it's unhooked from the actual brass channel. Set that to any. And then go to MIDI Sends, enable the sends, and then we'll connect it to the brass. And then we just need to assign our MIDI channels 2, 3, and 4. Now when we play these together, really cool stuff. Now, if you are hearing some clicks and pops, by the way, it's something to do with the drivers I'm using for creating this video, so just ignore those clicks and pops if they do show up. Anyway, let's start recording something. I'm going to turn my click track on, And then I'm going to try and bodge something together for you. So here we go. Okay, so that was entirely random, but I think it sounded pretty cool. And then here, you'll notice at the bottom, I've got two individual patches loaded up, and we have Cinebrass solo horn, and then we also have the solo trumpet. But something interesting to note with the solo horn is that I'm actually using a MIDI modifier. Now, MIDI modifiers are a really easy way to control the voicings for things on patches. So with a lot of libraries, they tend to stick everything in the same range, whereas using a MIDI modifier just kind of takes the legwork out of doing that for you. So here, for example, if I turn this off and I turn the chord pads off, sound lovely, but if I want to have this solo horn an octave lower, I can just use a MIDI modifier to shift that down by an octave. So when we come to record something in here, so that's just something random improvisation, but we get the point. It's a really useful way to sketch things out quickly using MIDI Sends, because you can get these really big textures and they sound awesome and they're so much fun to play. So hopefully you found this video useful. I think I covered most of the things to do with setting this up. If I've missed anything, let me know in the comments below and I'll be sure to rectify anything. So thank you again, and hopefully you've been keeping your eyes peeled, because in the last video there was a little clue, and there's going to be more clues dotted around as we build up for the announcement of the giveaway, not competition. I keep saying competition, the giveaway. So there's going to be two prizes for it. There'll be a main prize, and then there will be a prize that's up for grabs for 5 people. And that is the treasure hunt to unlock everything on the website for Pound Sound. So keep your eyes peeled for the clues if you're interested, because you're going to need them.